get away from me. If I was you, I'd watch what you say to me. Snakes all in my bed, wanna lay with me. This ain't no motherfucking game, why you play with me? Don't play with me, this the only thing.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Kase Court Podcast. Boy, Kase, the realest basketball fan alive, and I'm live from Las Vegas, Nevada, West Side. Thank you for tuning in. And today, we're going over my court, the Court League, and I'm here with my fellow members. Chuck, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right, and I also got Braxton on the line. Braxton, how you doing over there?
I'm doing all right for the most part.
All right, and we here to analyze the most recent trades that impacted the league, the landscape of the playoffs. So, without further ado, let's get right into this thing. And the first one is the deal involving the Los Angeles Clippers and the Sacramento Kings. This is definitely circled around Kawhi Leonard and Wendell Carter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and whatnot. It was quite the blockbuster. I'm gonna pass it over to Chuck. What do you see in that trade? First off, go over the trade and what went down and what you think about it.
So obviously this one had quite the league backlash. I sent over DeJounte Murray, Duncan Robinson, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Jackson Hayes, Aaron Gordon, Jordan Clarkson, and got back Kawhi Leonard, Wendell Carter Jr., Miles Leonard, Marvin Williams, Harrison Barnes, and Kyle Anderson. So first off, the basis of this trade obviously is for a win now basis, right? But for about the past 2 months, like I remember, this goes back to the D'Lo trade I did with the Celtics, where I traded D'Angelo Russell for Aaron Gordon, Jackson Hayes, and Duncan Robinson, right? So the main reason why I did that trade to begin with was to try to target Miles Turner, which was back then on the Clippers. But as the Clippers moved Turner for the Leonard package with the Sixers, then I realized, we could just go for Kawhi now, yeah?
Your eyes lit up, huh?
So Clippers contacted me about how he really liked, Duncan Robinson, Jackson Hayes, and not Aaron Gordon per se, but Duncan Robinson, Jackson Hayes. He also liked DeJounte Murray. So I've been trying to get that deal in the works actually for a while, but I wasn't gonna do it just for Kawhi. I wanted another piece, and when he traded for Wendell Carter Jr., I'm like, all right, I'm going in.
So you strategically put together his dream rebuild team.
Yes, from the Celtics.
Okay. All right.
And I'm pretty sure if when Brett watches this, he'll know. Clippers contacted him a lot about Jackson Hayes and Duncan Robinson.
And instead of trying to capitalize, he was too busy bragging about Duncan Robinson in the chat.
Then again, because back then, right after I figured out, I was already in talks with him, to try to get that package from D'Angelo Russell. Because honestly, I also didn't really trust Russell's health, or like how much he realistically played this season.
Okay.
Obviously, the consensus was he would get traded, but it would more likely to not be to a bad team that will, based on his rough, banged up start to the season, it was really questionable just how much he'd be able to play, right? So I'd say without being rested.
Yeah.
And so just offloading D'Lo. I mean, honestly, I loved DeJounte Murray. Offloading him hurt, but I knew if I got Kawhi back, it's honestly worth it. And
okay, so overall, you definitely feel like you won this trade.
As a win now perspective, for sure. But 10 years on the line, hell no. Right.
I mean, honestly, here's the thing. If you ask me, yeah, definitely, hands down, you win it from a win now perspective. If you say 10 years down the line, I still can't say that you lost it. You feel me? Because of the upside that Wendell Carter Jr. comes with. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what kind of caused the commotion. The fact, if you see Kawhi in a bunch of scraps, you're like, all right, cool. But you see Kawhi and Wendell, like, what in the world? You know what I'm saying? So that I think that's where everybody went crazy. And getting those two caliber guys, those are like guys that go in like the first and second rounds in our draft. It looks like you'd even give up any guy that went in that range. So I think that's what put
Well,
the overall
actually,
league into motion.
Brett took Aaron Gordon with his second pick. So technically, he
Was
took
it?
Aaron Gordon, yeah, before Wendell Carter Jr. actually.
Oh
So,
wow!
so technically, if you're talking about inaugural draft worth,
You're right.
there's a second round in
You're
there.
right. Yeah, because going into this draft, Aaron Gordon was kind of like a standard league fourth rounder. So I guess you're right. And him being young, you can see that upside.
Then again,
Okay.
I remember flaming that pick of his when he made it.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm like, he is so hyped. Aaron Gordon, here we go.
And I remember it because back then when he picked him, I was in Shanghai. I was about to fly back to the States, and I remember seeing Celtics select Aaron Gordon. I'm just like, what?
Okay. All right, I feel it. I feel it. All right, so Brax, what you think about the trade?
What I think a big part of it was, I mean, you take a look at the team Charles has built already, okay, and you saw all the blowback in the chat and stuff. You're trading Kawhi to a team that has Jason Tatum on it, DeAndre Ayton, Jalen Brown, LaMarcus Aldridge, and what I think a big part of it was is that um, maybe the value for the two may have been similar or um, around the same value, but you're taking the depth that maybe could have been Charles's downfall and giving him a top player to where to a team that doesn't need the depth necessarily. Um, I from a value standpoint, I do think it's a pretty even trade. Both sides are getting what they need. I do prefer the Kawhi side just because Kawhi's a top player. He's got the rest issues. So that's obviously a concern headed in the playoffs. Even week one in the playoffs, he's got that one back to back. So that could be an issue for him. But long term and short term, I do like the Kawhi side.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, definitely. I think we all agree there that the Kings. I don't want to. I mean, value wise, I feel like he did kind of fleece him just based on how I feel about the upper echelon of fantasy in this league because we can only
Right.
start five guys. So
I
yeah,
agree.
whenever you can get like a top guy that's like okay, a for sure starter, you definitely win that trade. You
I
know?
don't know if I don't know if I would say he fleeced him though. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it? What is it? 6 for 6 or something like that? I mean,
Hmm.
the guys he's getting back are all quality guys. I mean, it's like
Exactly. Overall value, you feel like it's pretty even, but a lot of these things, it's like we try to compare value based on the league we're operating within, So,
yeah,
example, like a guy that's like a guard forward has a lot more value than just a forward in this
sure.
league. You feel me? So it's just those kind of things that
I mean,
that
you look at the Clippers team now. He doesn't necessarily have a top guy anymore, or somebody that can carry him in necessarily any category. He's
yeah.
got a pretty deep team, but it's like what are you strong in? It's not a knock against the Clippers. I do think the move may have been good long term, but it's like you're not
Mm-hmm.
dominating necessarily in anything. Uh, so I do think maybe Charles won the trade there.
Yeah, and plus, for him to even be within the playoffs with Oladipo just came back, right?
Right,
And who else just returned?
Otto
Yeah,
Porter.
yeah, Otto Porter just returned. He was out all season, so yeah, kudos to Clippers to making it this far for sure. And I guess we can move on to the next trade here, which was involving. Let me pull it up here.
You got it's the Bulls, the Spurs, and the Suns trade. It's that three-way trade.
Oh yeah, go ahead and go through it since you have it in front of you.
So at least for me, this is more of a counter to kind of what the league was shifting to. I kind of looked at what the top teams are looking like, and I decided I need to make a move. The Spurs sent Dwayne Bacon, Norman Powell, Karl Anthony Towns, and Terry Rozier. The Suns sent Rudy Gobert and DeAndre Jordan, and the Bulls sent uh, Dante DiVincenzo, Jimmy Butler, and Jonas Valanciunas. And so for the Spurs return, uh, which is me, the Spurs in return got Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Jordan, DiVincenzo, and Jimmy Butler. The Suns got Jonas Valanciunas and Terry Rozier, and the Bulls got what is it? Karl Anthony Towns, Norman Powell, and Dwayne Bacon. I do really like the Bulls side here. Norman Powell is really turned into something, especially with Fred. Or he's been able to show off what he can do with Fred VanVleet injured. He is a little injury prone. He did just get injured tonight as of recording this. He's had some trouble staying on the court, but Karl Anthony Towns may have lost his Iron Man status. You know, he had I think it was a knee issue a lot of the year, and then now he's got the wrist issue. But he for sure is a top 5 fantasy player, and it's very hard to trade somebody like that away. The Suns, you know, Jonas Valanciunas has really been turning out lately as well. Even with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark in the lineup, he's still doing 20 and 15 nightly. So he's definitely and he's not going to hurt you anywhere either. I mean, he can knock a couple threes. He's got the high free throw percentage.
A very solid fantasy player. Very solid.
Right. And then he got Rozier as well, who's really shown out in Charlotte. As far as fantasy wise, I mean, people want to knock him as a real life player, but we're talking fantasy here, and he's really good asset. And so the return for the Spurs for Karl Anthony Towns, very fond of. I mean, I got Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Jordan, DiVincenzo, and Jimmy Butler. And whenever you trade like a top 5 player away, you always want to get at least a couple top 15 assets to go with it. And Butler and Gobert arguably top 15. You could maybe bump Gobert to top 25, whatever. But the addition of DiVincenzo and DeAndre Jordan, DiVincenzo definitely has the potential to be top 75 here soon. Jordan, whatever, he'll hang around 110, 115, whatever it is. Another driving force, though, was the need to make a playoff push. I saw that I wasn't going to be able to do anything with the team that I had, and again, I was countering some of the top teams just with this move. And I really like how it turned out, and I think all 3 teams, the Suns did kind of get catch a little flack for moving Gobert for JV and Rozier, but it's like you look at his team now, and like the team that he's put together, it's a really all around solid team, and I wouldn't want to see it in the playoffs,
Okay. So I feel it.
He does not really have any weaknesses.
Yeah, I feel it. Well, what you think about this trade, Chuck?
So the basis of it is a lot of value gained, in my opinion, for both the Spurs and the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that a lot of that just stems from releasing Gobert for JV and Terry Rozier.
Mm-hmm.
I do really, really like this trade for the Spurs because getting rid of Towns, who has been injury-ridden the whole year, and being able to get ample win-now help, right, in the form of Butler and Gobert is really big for someone that's competing this year. And Towns is still a very alluring fantasy asset, which the Bulls are definitely looking for the future in this one. But I still feel like definitely the Suns did lose out a lot of value here by giving up Gobert for just JV and Terry Rozier. Like, could have gotten at least another piece in there somewhere.
Yeah, or at least ask for a draft pick or something like that to kind of.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I feel that. Overall, I definitely see your perspective on how the letting go of Gobert for Rozier and Valanciunas could you can see the losing of value in that just based on the format of our league and whatnot. But I definitely agree with how fantasy friendly Rozier and Valanciunas are. Having those 2 pieces. The one thing I realized is because going into this draft is I was very high on just going top heavy. Your bench could be trash, just throw them out there and hope they do something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I realized is the diversity of all these teams in our league. It is important to kind of have these all around teams where you could kind of come at them with different strategies. You know what I'm saying? So having Rozier and Valanciunas definitely kind of unlocks that for you. So I like that perspective. But yeah, overall, I think this is a pretty even trade all the way up and down. I know Spurs. I know Brax. When Spurs made that move, a lot of that was strategic as far as the playoffs and potential matchup with the unstoppable Kings. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely see where that came from. Um, and that was smart to get away from Cat. Look at what he's going through right now. So I salute to Spurs on that one for sure. And the Bulls being outside of the playoffs, making a move on Cat, that's the type of move you make. You know, getting younger from an older Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I love that move for the Bulls as well. And yeah, so we already talked about the Suns. So yeah, I love this trade all the way, from top to bottom. So I guess we can move on to the next trade, which is the the one involving the Cleveland Cavaliers and Boston Celtics, right? Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, for us on Whiteside,
Yeah, yeah. So pretty much, um, Brett, who's the owner of the Boston Celtics, has been advertising Whiteside for quite a bit, and the Cavs, Kobe finally bid on it, and in return, he was Boston Celtics was able to get a 2020 draft pick, second round, actually two of them. One's from Miami Heat, one's from Dallas Mavericks, and he was able to also get a 2021 second round pick from the Denver Nuggets, and then the piece he was able to get was Wendell Carter Jr. So I guess, yeah, I definitely love this trade with the team, the Cleveland Cavaliers making the playoffs. Get rid of any type of futuristic asset you have and go all in on, this year value, immediate value. So I love the move on Whiteside. I mean, come on, surprising what type of season he's having. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he used to be one of those. Top, first or second round picks in like a standard league. So seeing him jump back up, it's not that surprising. It's all about, okay, if this guy can get his attitude together. So it's good to see that. Um, on the flip end, I definitely do. The thing about Wendell Carter Jr. is, okay, it, I, the thing is there's a lot of upside to him, but the only question is if is it will it be potential or will it actually be achieved? You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
he
And
can't stay on the court.
yeah, and
He
that
can't stay on the court. He
exactly
hasn't
that
even really done anything.
exactly, and that's like Stephen A. says. He says the best ability is availability, right? So, and I definitely agree with that. You got to be available. So, and the thing about big man is are the defensive stats too. So he has to be. He's shown that he could give you those defensive stats to some degree, but if you can be consistent with that, that's really what could push you into the upper echelon of fantasy here. So the young, I do like him getting younger based on the return he got based on Hassan Whiteside. If you're just
Yeah,
looking
it's a
at
great return.
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
great return.
If you're just looking at this season, you'll be like, okay, that was Hassan is like a top guy, but it's like this is a dynasty league, and I definitely think he got great assets, and he can have a lot of fun and do a lot of flipping with that. So, what do you guys think about it? I guess I'll go with Chuck first. Let's see what you think.
Yeah, so obviously, I actually talked to Brett a lot about Whiteside, but funny enough, he said he's not giving me a Whiteside no matter what I do, unless it includes a J, which I definitely was not willing to do. But from the point where win out perspective and a rebuilding perspective for the Celtics, this is pretty very even, I'd say, for both sides.
Hmm.
Because Whiteside does lose his value come next season, more likely than not. It's hard to see a 32-year-old Whiteside getting an ample amount of playtime on a team where he just doesn't fit the modern big man mold anymore, right? But obviously, from a this season win now perspective, Whiteside is a prime top five asset for
Hmm.
any team. So it really makes sense for both parties, and both parties do win their respective sides.
I mean, what I think a good point is though, you saw Whiteside last year. I mean, he was playing 18, 20 minutes a game, and he's still putting up double doubles every game. I think it's a decent move. I like Whiteside 2 or 3 years from now. Still, I mean, he's shown he can get it done in 20 minutes a game.
I agree.
Maybe more than Wendell Carter Jr. can do in 30. Obviously minus the threes if Wendell Carter wants to start, or if he wants to decide to shoot some threes.
Great point. That's a great point.
It's just I don't know. I think it's more even. Um, on both sides. I really think I really like the Whiteside. If it was me, I'd prefer the Whiteside deal. I mean, he's
Hmm.
uh, at the time of the trade, he was producing top 10 value. Obviously, you got Nurkic coming back soon here. I don't think it affects it too much, but I mean, it's not far fetched to say Whiteside can definitely put up top 50 value next season.
Oh yeah,
Wendell
definitely,
Carter
definitely,
Jr.
definitely.
He's got to show that he can do that.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing with honestly, I was really plotting on trying to get Hassan Whiteside. I personally thought that whoever gets him might be the league winner type of move. Honestly, and honestly, I was really trying to make a move on it because I was scared of Chuck making a move on him. So with just the landscape of things changed, and me struggling with getting a second shot blocker, and just me seeing other teams trying to kind of change their builds based on what the Kings did to the league. You know what I'm saying? So I decided to in bulk jump into this other trade. And all right, I guess we can go into the next trade that we meant to talk about here, which was, I can pull it up right here. Okay, yeah, it's a blockbuster between the Nets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Houston Rockets. So here, the Nets are giving up Derrick Jones Jr., Rashawn Holmes, Bruno Fernando, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Dennis Schroeder, and a 2021 Nets second round pick. And they got in return Russell Westbrook, Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams, Mo Harkless, DeMar DeRozan, and Iggy. That's quite a bit to analyze. Uh, Overall, I understand what the Nets was trying to do here with their trade. They really just wanted to shake up their team to some degree. And I think it had a lot to do with what the Kings had, and just trying to, I guess, move away from the current build that he had. I think his team was very similar to what the Kings were doing, but didn't have as much firepower, I would say. You feel me? So
I want to chime in here. I don't. I think this trade is just. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
mhm,
You're just shifting around. I don't think it moves the needle for any team
okay.
involved in the deal. Originally, when I saw it, I was like, why? Uh, the Nets team specifically, I thought had a very dominant team,
Hmm.
um,
I agree.
and trading it away, I don't know. I mean, he did it specifically to counter the Kings team, which is, I mean, if he has a very similar team to mine.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe I get it from that standpoint, but I'm almost taking the original Nets team in in a matchup with the Kings. It to me, for all three teams involved. I think I liked the original teams
And,
more.
and and one thing I would say is also a factor is some because I'm involved with this trade. I took on Siakam and Lowry from his team. Is I believe also the Raptors having just 2 games in the playoffs could also be a factor. So
Sure,
that's something I'm going through this week is both Siakam and Lowry got 2 games. So I had to stream my way up with a bunch of scraps.
right.
So
In all honesty, for terms of value, I'd say giving up, Holmes, Fernando, Siakam, Schroeder, and Lowry, and getting back, Steven Adams, DeMar DeRozan, Eric Bledsoe, Mo Harkless, and Russell Westbrook. Russell
mhm.
Westbrook. That's a decent haul for
That's
giving
solid.
up.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if you're going for win out production, giving up Siakam for that return is honestly
Great.
huge. I'd say.
Is great. It's very enticing, and that's the thing is that I think he realized based on the where this trade was going, he realized he would have to cash in on like okay his future assets to just going on a win now, just based on the assets that I was putting on the table because me being involved in the trade, I was committed in such a win now mode. You know what I'm saying? But I guess that's with the net side. But I guess I can continue and go on to the Cavs, who gave up Trevor Ariza and Kemba Walker and Iggy, and in return he got OG Anunoby, Derrick Jones Jr. and Rashawn Holmes.
Wait, hold on. Wait, what? Wait, okay. So hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. Okay, I take it back. That is that is by far the winner of the trade for sure. I mean, Rashawn Holmes, the Kings want him to be his center, right?
Yeah.
Kemba Walker, Kemba Walker is gonna be the same player,
Mhm.
scoring, not a ton of supporting stats. Uh, can carry you in free throw percentage.
Mhm.
But other than that, you know,
He
there's
destroys
not
your
much
field
there.
goal percentage, especially in
Uh,
the last, since the
yeah,
start of the year.
right.
Mhm.
I don't know. Rashawn Holmes was producing at least top 25 value before he went down.
Yeah.
Derek Jones Jr. is a very, very nice piece. I think he definitely has potential to grow. I don't think where he's at is his peak at all. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, people want to talk about OG Anunoby's potential. There's a lot of talk about his potential. He's shown that he can put up the numbers, but like specifically in the stats with like steals and blocks, and he knocks down threes as well. Obviously, that's a really hard combo to come by or get to find. Where I feel like you could find somebody like Kemba Walker's production, or you can maybe stream almost similar production minus the points. Um, for that. So I think by far, I take back everything I said. I think by far the Cavs won that trade.
Yeah, of course, Kemba Walker still has that. He's still Kemba, right? But recently, especially since Jason Tatum and with his injury, his role moving forward and how much he's gonna be, required to, I'd say, run the offense is definitely in question because you have the Jays specifically who, because the Celtics do play a lot of swing offense where they're just looking for an opening through the perimeter and then letting the Jays drive in reality.
Mhm.
And in that sense, Kemba realistically as the Celtics get older, right, and more into their prime, Kemba will fade off usage wise. He's still gonna give you, elite points, threes, and free throw percentage, but he's never really been a steals guy. And
Mhm.
especially with how much the Celtics are moving the ball around,
Mhm.
he's not going to be that big of an assist guy either. It's all about how much he can optimize his shooting. Because right now he's
Mhm.
ice cold from three, and just from the field in general.
Mhm.
If
It's
he
because he's
can,
forced to take so many shots,
yeah,
though.
he's forced to take certain threes, or he also takes a lot of times the shot at the end of the possession. That's a bad look, but he has to be the one that takes it, right?
Mhm.
And so in that sense, we're talking about fantasy wise, he is going to hurt your field goal percentage by a good margin unless he's hot. And he is slumping in the new system in his new role, especially with his injuries recently.
Mhm.
But in all honesty, I don't think he should be valued as a top 40 or 50 player
I don't
moving
know.
forward as
I
far.
don't.
Okay.
I think that's a bit extreme.
Yeah, and here's the thing is I definitely understand his perspective on Kemba because just like in the beginning of the season, if you remember in the earlier podcast how much of a steal I believe Kemba was for Elton when he did his draft, the Philly. I was like, whoa, that actually scared me, the team he had. Then he had Kawhi and Kemba, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So like that like I think Kemba is wildly like underrated, generally speaking, because he's not all that flashy. Honestly speaking, like when them losing Kyrie and then getting Kemba in return, I honestly feel like he's just as good as Kyrie, but just not flashy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that probably doesn't put him above Kyrie, as he's not able to do all the flashy stuff Kyrie could do. You see what I'm saying? But overall, just playing within a system and being able to produce, I think he could be just as efficient or as good as a Kyrie Irving and stuff like that. And you definitely the role of Tatum and the Jalen Brown, their roles growing can definitely take away from his usage. But overall, the field goal percentage that you're worried about with Kemba could actually rise as those guys improve. You see what I'm saying? So as those
Yeah.
guys exactly, so he's not forced to take so many wild shots. It's like how you say now he's taking the shots at the end of the shot clock. Over time, it'll be Tatum. When it's the end of the shot clock, oh shit, Tatum, make something happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing that'll be dealing. Tatum will start dealing with a lot of double teams. Even Brown when he starts getting hot. You know what I'm saying? So I think Kemba's in a great system. You saw what they were able to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Even through that playoffs with his hip and all that. So I just really believe in the Celtics system. They've proven over a very long time that they're able to make pieces fit, and they're not able when guys play they don't have to compromise too much. They know how to play as a unit. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, even Gordon Hayward's a big guy in this picture and how he fits in the picture overall. So, um, but definitely, I do understand how people are kind of down on Kemba, and he's not a guy that'll pop up for 40 points, but he's a guy that's pretty consistent on a regular basis to give you 20 plus points.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Celtic system is very, very well tailored for guards,
Hmm.
mainly because it's just fluid ball movement, right,
Hmm.
into a three or drive. It's very straightforward, I'd say, in the fact that it's effective
Hmm.
and it works because they have skilled players. But in regards to fantasy production, however, right, in the sense that when Kyrie was on the team, he saw the highest field goal percentage he's ever shot in his career. He
Hmm.
saw the most assist shares. That's also because he was the main ball handler aside from moving away from LeBron at that point.
Hmm.
But in Walker's current role, of course, in the real life winning perspective, the Celtic system is really good for them. And obviously, real life, you don't only look at the percentages. You look at, did they win? Did they impact the game? Yes, right. But if we're talking about a purely fantasy scoring concept, because Kemba is not a high stocks guard,
Hmm. Definitely.
he's just always lacking a sense of extra value that you'd want to see from somebody
That that the,
classified
definitely
as
the
that type of player.
fullness, exactly the fullness that'll put him into like a top 10 type of player,
Yeah,
in
because
fantasy.
he's
Yeah.
lacking the stocks and he's lacking the assists now, and more likely than not, because he was never a big assist guy, even on
Hmm.
Charlotte.
Hmm. Yeah, he
But
was around 5 or 6 or something like that. Yeah.
but even now more so, because of just how much the Celtics move the ball around and how a lot of people just get random large assist totals, in
Hmm.
different games, based on where that rocks lands before they finish the possession. It's just he's a great points, free throw percentage, threes anchor. His field goal
Hmm.
percentage is bound to improve. He's a career 45% shooter. He's not gonna shoot keep shooting 38% from the field. But
He's shooting 43 on the year right
yeah,
now.
yeah, on the year, but that's also because he started off the year shooting 46.
Yeah.
He's gone down consistently the last 2 months. But in that regard, he is, yes, he is good at points, threes, free throw percentage, and above average on assists. But if we're looking at every other stat, he really doesn't help you
Oh
anywhere
yeah,
else.
definitely, 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 definitely. Well, I guess we should staying on point. We could kind of, I guess, say what Cavs. You guys definitely. I guess both of you definitely agree that he won this trade, and I think it culminates from how you guys view Kemba. It probably you probably guys don't see him as a high asset. Like, okay, so if I say Kemba versus Rashawn, right? You guys will probably kind of see them either in the same ballpark, or you guys might even roll with Rashawn, right?
I'd personally put Kemba just a bit above Rashawn, personally
Okay.
due to well, it's also because it's the Kings.
Okay. Yeah.
He's on the Kings.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like I love my Kings, but
Yeah.
their
Yeah. Yeah.
rotations on their bigs is quite literally the hot hand. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes 35. You know,
I mean, that wasn't necessarily the case though when he was healthy at the beginning of the year. He got banged up. He had a shoulder issue, and then he missed 2 months with it. I mean, he was the starting center for however long. They're playing Bagley at the four next to him.
Yeah.
That's what
But
they were doing.
definitely, definitely, and definitely, I guess for how I see this trade is I think Cavs is taking a bit of a gamble with the guys that he's taking, whereas I feel like Kemba and what he will do within like the next 4 years, I would say like that is a bit more reliable. I mean, I'm not a big fan of what Iggy's. I mean, I don't think he's even that fantasy relevant. Iggy, I think he's just a throw in or whatnot. But
Very low end guy.
yeah, definitely. Ariza's value went up after that trade to the Portland Trailblazers. They've been aching for forwards for years, so that's why he's waking up. He's finally playing for something. You know what I'm saying? So his value went up a little bit, but I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm a big fan of OG. Y'all know how I feel about OG. I think he does win the trade because of what he had in the back pocket for the OG trade. I did not know OG was available for Brogdon. So that I think he flipped that and made that trade. So I think he came up on that. I'm not big on what Derrick Jones Jr. Role expanding in the NBA, but I am proud of what he's done. Based on him just being a dunker, and finally, just evolving his game into something else what it is now, and just fitting in that Miami Heat system overall. But I don't think his role will expand where he's like a guy every night. You got to play him like 30 minutes a night. You feel me? So
Yeah.
that's
Sorry, I just wanted to go back to the Holmes really
mhm,
fast. So
yeah.
in regards to even with this is with Bagley out, but although he does average a consistent, around 30 minutes a game. So
Mhm.
these are some splits from like the very first games you can find on ESPN under the game log.
And there's Rashawn Holmes, right?
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes. Like
Yeah.
his minutes
Go ahead.
do fluctuate not just based on blowouts, but really do fluctuate not on injuries either, but from who is playing well. Because some nights he goes from at the beginning before Bagley went down, he only played as a backup role to Dedmon as well. But after Dedmon got phased out rotation, he got 30, 35, 20, 30, 31, 29, 31. But then you see these nights where he just plays 26, 20, 28, 25, 27, 26, 24, 22.
Mhm.
These are without injuries, but just and without blowouts, really.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah. Well,
the key to the whole.
here's my thing with the Holmes. The thing with Holmes, right, is that I mean we've all been playing fantasy for a while, so we've been aware of this guy, and we've been like, okay, this guy could finally get a role. He's gonna be a beast, right? And he finally did it, and we're finally like, oh yeah, see, we knew it. You know what I'm saying? It's like all of us fantasy players, we love to see those kind of players progress. The only thing I see with Holmes is that one with the injuries going down. Harry Giles is another guy that's been in our back pockets that we're like, when is this guy going to start going? When he's gonna, what is it? Going to start getting going and whatnot. So like, and he's starting to get that role, and he's starting to play decently. He's usable in like these 12 and 14 teams, like as a little streamer. So um, overall, I just see like Bagley. I'm big on Bagley in this league. I honestly feel like he's forgotten in that draft class how good he was. All eyes were on Trey and Luca, and people forget how bad Kings were doing good with Bagley, and the minute he got hurt, they kind of just slid out of the playoff picture. So I think what Bagley could do is slept on, and just there's a lot of variables around Rashawn Holmes that I don't think it's just a for sure thing that okay from here on out he's going to be a top 30 guy. You feel me?
Yeah,
So
that's fine. That's fine.
like even like a change of a coach could kind of throw a whole tornado storm on that whole thing. So that
I
that,
mean,
that mhm,
I don't think the minutes argument is legitimate at all. I mean, if you
mhm,
compare him to somebody like Montrezl Harrell, I mean, they're playing similar minutes. Montrezl Harrell most nights doesn't even break 30 minutes. Okay,
mhm,
it Rashawn Holmes is not hurting anybody anywhere except
yeah,
maybe threes. Obviously, he to start the year, he's the backup. Okay,
mhm,
Bagley goes down. He takes over the starting spot, and he does not let go until he gets hurt with this or he gets the shoulder issue.
mhm.
It's I don't understand how you could be down on Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's come back. He's been
and
a little rusty.
exactly. And the thing, I'm not down on Holmes. I'm just looking at possibilities. You know what I'm saying? So the thing with Holmes is that I mean, but I agree with you. He definitely has a lot of value, especially when you look at the format of this league. Even if he goes back to like let's say the role he was having with like the 76ers or like the Suns, like what he was doing as a backup center is crazy valuable in this league. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely on the I'm definitely hopeful for Holmes going forward. I'm just looking at the possibilities, of his downside, and I just want to be aware of that here, when I'm doing this. But overall, yes, I do agree with Cavs coming up big in this trade. So I guess based on y'all responses, you guys aren't gonna like the third party in this trade, which is the Rockets, and he gave up Steven Adams, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, Eric Bledsoe, Mo Harkless, and OG, and then in return he got back Kyle Lowry, Siakam, Dennis Schroeder, Bruno Fernando, Kemba Walker, Trevor Ariza, and a 2020 first net second round pick.
Well, from a dynasty perspective, this
Mhm.
is this is a win. If you can get Siakam for the package that you give up and extras. If from a purely 3-4 years on the line, am I going to win or not perspective? Obviously, it's a win. But for the season itself, I
Mhm.
I do think that obviously when you made the trade, I'm sure you were thinking, how's my team going to look 2-3 years on the line, right? This year might
Definitely.
this year might not be mine, but once
Definitely.
my young players develop, what's my team look
And and since this is my team that is involved, I guess I can give you some background on what I was thinking. In that, I definitely felt confident in this team just going forward into the playoffs and my build, especially how everybody was bigging up the Kings. I was pretty confident. Hey, my build goes pretty well against it. You know what I'm saying? But over, even though you did kick my ass in the in the regular season, I do remember that. But um, it was a whole different team back then and whatnot. But overall, what happened? I was just going through this, conversation. They were interested in doing like a 3-team trade and whatnot. And then once I started to see a couple of the pieces that were being put on the board, I was like, okay, I noticed Kemba's being put on the board because of how he's being viewed right now and his knee injury as well. So I felt like he's kind of being underrated for what he could be. You know what I'm saying? And also, another thing is, I will also say Siakam. Once I saw that Nets was ready to let go of Siakam, that's kind of when I was willing to let go of Russ and whatnot. Just because, like Russ missing his back to backs were kind of annoying this season. Like I went through that with Kawhi 2 seasons ago, and I was like, okay, I don't want to go through that this season. And I had faith that he might not do it, but he did it. I was like, damn, so at least getting moving on from Russ, I was kind of okay with that, and just being able to um just get back into the game as far as like being able to trade with other teams, because my strategy in the draft was just to go on a lot of these win now assets. So I was just grabbing a lot of these old guys that I know will produce now. But I realized when I was trying to trade with people, it was like, nah, I don't want him. Nah, I don't want him. So being able to grab like a Siakam kind of gives me flexibility in the future, which I do like. Um, and whatnot, and just the value of pairing up Siakam with Kemba and still being able to have that third star power in Lowry. You know what I'm saying? It still gives me a chance to be competitive now. So um, I went ahead and did, especially with Ariza with what he's doing in Portland. I just kind of, all right, I'm okay with shaking things up here, and I do like what I got back.
Yeah, in a purely dynasty perspective, people are a lot more willing to give up, their old players than to take an old player.
Definitely, definitely.
Because you would far more think, what am I getting a few years down the line rather
I
than
think youth is significantly
what
overrated a little
I
bit.
would be losing
hmm
a few years down the line. Did I cut out there?
Yeah. You cut out there for a little bit,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah, I think I disconnected. But yeah, so people will be far more willing to trade away an old guy rather than trade for an old guy because more likely than not, that team that trades away the old guy isn't confident to win it this year, right? And to get a younger player with potential to develop is far more valuable, and they'll treat that potential with far more value than the season. Like for example, Whiteside is a perfect example of this, right?
Mhm.
Where huge producer, but he's obviously gonna be a lot less valuable in a lot of people's eyes because they don't really care to win now in the next 2-3 years. They're building for the future.
And back to your point about as far as confidence in winning this season, yeah, I did feel good, but I did notice there was a gap in that my team did need the blocks to succeed with this build, and I just couldn't find it with my worries about Capella's heel and whatnot, and I was just trying to look for shot blockers, and I knew everybody was just holding tight onto him, and I was like, huh, and like when I noticed like what Brax was doing with his team and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, like he got the blocks on lock. You know what I'm saying? I know Chuck, like Chuck was looking for blocks himself, so I was like, maybe as everybody's yinging, I could probably yang here and probably go with a different build. And I was just analyzing what Kemba Walker is when you punt certain categories. Like how you were down on him like field goals. Like if you punt field goal percentage and rebounds with Kemba, he's like a top 10 player. You know what I'm saying? So Um,
I just want to chime in real quick.
yeah,
I
go ahead.
think youth is significantly overrated right now. We're
Mhm,
not playing 2K, okay?
mhm.
If you trade Kemba Walker for like Torian Prince or some shit, it's like it's even if you're not competing this season, right? He's going to exist next season. He's 29 years old, okay? That's just an example, right? But like it's like they're not gonna young players aren't automatically going to develop. To me, I would never trade a proven player for some prospects. It doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm, mhm.
I think youth in itself is significantly overrated within our space
Well,
specifically.
definitely, and that's kind of something I was playing on in that now that we're approaching the playoffs, so I realized everybody finally realized the value in the win now players, and throughout the season I realized no one really realized the value, but the value like the younger players are just high, so I'm kind of playing on that string as far as like how people feel about younger guys as the season's going on. Oh, Siakam's dropping 30, he looking like Giannis right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of playing on that. So, but I'm definitely on board with you as far as how young guys are overrated. They're not a guarantee; it's a gamble. Always go with the proven talent. All that. That's all good sauce to me.
I mean, in the end, you're trying to win a fantasy matchup, right? You're not trying to build
Mhm.
a basketball team, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I just to me, I don't understand how someone would think they can win with players who are never even going to sniff the level that they trade the player away because it's I need to rebuild. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, no, you don't. You're playing for just hold for next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's
Makes sense. It makes sense. So I guess I mean we're 40 minutes in. I don't want this running too long. We didn't even talk about the playoffs yet. So I guess this is a great transition to start talking about the playoff teams.
Get away from me. If I was you, I watch what you say to me. Snakes all in my bed, wanna lay with me. This ain't no motherfucking game, why you play with me? Don't play with me, this the only thing I love. I love, love, love.